No, it's great to be in the carnage house. I love a bit of carnage.
If the people who do want to buy their first houses, like, why is it so expensive, and like what policies would fix that? Like maybe not having superannuation funds invest, or like what would do you know about the housing market?
Yeah, I've actually also included that in the report.
Look at you, God bless you.
So we've got...
That's why we bring her on, ladies and gentlemen. She knows everything.
We've got a nice mess, and it feels again like double taxation and taxes on taxes, because the housing prices are essentially artificially inflated by government restrictions. You've got zoning restrictions. You can't expand the city out. You can't expand the city up. And you've got like certain areas that are zoned for specific things. So you can't have a multifamily unit in like a single family unit area, or you can't have businesses in certain areas. Yeah. And you have to jump through all of these hurdles, all of these hoops in order to like actually build a house.
Yeah, like you'd think that if you buy the land should be yours, not like subject to all these terms and conditions from the government.
100%. And it's the biggest expenditure for most councils is just approving all of these things. So that's a waste of our taxpayer money right there. And
there's a bit of corruption that goes in there with the rezoning and all that type of bullshit.
Exactly. There's favoritism played. And then we end up with this situation where it's approximately 60% of the value of a home is just like caused by all of these restrictions.
Really?
Yeah.
You reckon 60%?
Yeah, this is from a report from the CIS found, I think in inner city Sydney, it's about almost 70, it's 69. Outer, like regional areas, it's about 60%.
Wow.
Melbourne, it's, I think, 20 and 60. I'm trying to remember exactly. I'd have to look it up exactly to get the numbers precisely. But yeah, it's about 60%.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's why I'm not planning to live in Sydney in my late 20s and 30s. I'm not going to buy a house here for a bit. I'm going to go to like Ukraine maybe go to Kenya for a bit, go to China for a bit, get a 99-year lease.
Yeah. Well, the fun thing about this is you've got the inflated housing prices and the inflated land prices, and then you have to pay stamp duty and land tax.
Yeah.
On top of it. And so it's like, well...
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And then also in your report you talk about how like it's the consumption taxes that also break your balls. Like if you're a smoker, for example, you pay like an average of $5,000 a year in tax. Alcohol, for example. I was looking at this, so I was interested. I had some friends come over from New Zealand last weekend and they were like, man, it's crazy how much beer costs here. I'm like, yeah, but how much does it cost for you? And they're like, yeah, well, if you get a 6-pack in Australia, it's like $25, but if you get it in New Zealand, it's like 12 to 15. And I wrote some statistics down for the people at home because I know we have a strong beer drinking audience, or at least I would guess. And it said that here, look at this. I missed the right. Give me 1 second right here. Okay, listen to this. So a typical case of beer in Australia sells for $52, and $22 of that is in tax. Australians pay 17 times more beer tax than the Germans. That's bullshit. Surely we didn't beat them in World War II to pay 20 times more fucking tax on our beer. And then we got 15 times more than Spain, 7 times more than US, 6 times more than Canada, and double that of New Zealand. And then that's just for beer. For liquor tax, you have the third highest in the world with 57% of retail value is tax. And they're busting our nuts out here. I mean, what's a young man's... This is why Sydney nightlife sucks, ladies and gentlemen. Sydney nightlife is fucking shit. Sorry, Grandma. But it's because everything's so expensive, and then you have to get like a $100 Uber at the end of the night to go up the street. It's like... Wait, can you? I'm going to give you the mic. Can you talk about the consumption taxes?
This is probably one of my favorites. Favorites, least favorites. I care a lot about alcohol tax because I like my gin and tonics, and it's about 39% of the value, like of the price you're paying for a gin and tonic, is alcohol tax. Then you also have to pay GST. So then it's 49%. So half of every single spirit that you're drinking is going to the government, which is crazy. Across the board, it's about 20% if you average out all alcohols.
Right.
And that's because wine is quite a bit less. And wine is taxed in an entirely different way than beer and spirits. Wine is taxed according to the value of it. So the wine lobby has done very well in Australia.
Yeah, congratulations to the wine lobby. We might give them some free advertising next time.
Yeah, they're doing all right. They figured it out. My theory is politicians just like their nice wine tours.
Well, we know Barry O'Farrell did. I don't know if you're in Australia for that. He was the New South Wales Premier who had to resign because he got a gift of like $1,000 bottle of wine from someone. And that was like 5 years ago maybe, and he was forced to resign.
Yikes.
Rip.
Oops.
RIP, my man Barry. And then the last consumption tax I wanted to talk to you about, or potentially lack of consumption tax, is on drugs. Now,
Yes.
you made an interesting point. I believe it was you made the interesting point that like Australia spends over like $1,000 a year. $1 billion a year on policing drugs, and like 65% of that goes towards cannabis policing. Hitting up innocent people like myself, young, smart up and comers.
Yes.
Now, what do we do about cannabis in particular, and then other drugs to make it like a thing so people don't get arrested for the victimless crime, but then a way that will make it palatable for the government?
Yeah. So I think it is a legalized and tax, but you have to be so careful about that. I think I made the mistake of investing in corporate cannabis when it was legalized in the U.S. or in Washington State, my home state. It's like, yes, I'm going to make so much money. Cannabis is legal. Everybody wants their weed. And then they just smashed the weed industry with taxes. And there was already a happy, thriving black market.
Right.
So why would they then give up such a percentage of their profits to the government when they've still got customers, they've still got clients, they're still doing their thing? There's just less risk. So I think if the government does want to tax weed, they can't just automatically drop like a 65% tax on it. We've got about 65% tax on cigarettes. They can't just do that and expect there to be a legal weed industry. You have to let that industry grow up. So my ideal world is just GST. GST on cigarettes, GST on weed, GST on alcohol. Stop trying to manipulate people's decisions. Let people be adults and make their own consumption choices. Believe it or not, like I can choose how much alcohol I should drink. I don't need the government to bankrupt me for drinking too much.
Yeah, I mean it's like an Australian thing to like have a beer, but I don't. That might just be the government wanting you to get your alcohol tax. Like I had when Greg Hunt was putting that thing into banned vapes coming from overseas. We made a video on that, and I called up Greg Hunt's office, and I asked them, is this because, I was like, can I talk to Greg? They're like, no, he's not here. I was like, damn, all right, I'll talk to you then. And so then I was like, so is this about, protecting cigarette tax revenue? Because, the young kids aren't on cigarettes anymore. Like, no, it's like a health thing, but I think you said in one of your articles that vapes are healthier than cigarettes. Like, it's... Is vape? What do we do about vapes? Because these are illegal. These are illegal. Come get me, please.
Yes. Well, vaping is legal, but not vaping with nicotine. I think is what it is. But you're not going to go around testing people's vapes for nicotine, and you can't sell them in Australia.
Yeah.
Or you can sell them. I forget all of the laws around it. I'm not as focused on this campaign. But yeah, you can't sell the nicotine pouches. You can't sell vape juices with nicotine in it. You have to mix it yourself. You have to order the nicotine from overseas and all of this drama.
Yeah, or you could just buy them at your local, I'm not going to drop the name of a shop. There's a nice blue shop that always sells them.
Yes, there's those nice places. There are legal vape shops that sell vapes legally and sell the liquids separately.
I feel bad for
them. Do the whole shenanigans.
I feel bad for them.
There's these nice other shops that are like, here, have your disposable vape.
Yeah.
Which terrible for the environment and all other things. But vaping is so much healthier for you. There have been no deaths from legal vaping products. All the deaths have been from illegal vaping products or some sort of mismanagement. So you shouldn't be vaping cannabis, because it's an oil and you're not supposed to try to evaporate oils into your lungs.
I had that one time happen to me when I was at a bar and a friend gave me the vape and I took this huge drag. I'm like, I don't feel any nicotine in this. What is wrong with it? And I took the biggest drag of all time. My friend's looking at me, not stopping me. And I got so high in this bar, totally by accident. And it feels weird when you're out and you're high. It feels very weird. Anyway, it's a side story. Sorry, Grandma. Not my fault. But you're not supposed to have weed vapes.
No, you got to be careful of the weed vapes because vape liquid and nicotine vape liquid is water soluble. And so you can evaporate it. And so it doesn't cause things like the popcorn lung. And they find it's this thing called vitamin E acetate in weed vapes that's causing the problems.
Right.
And it's a lower risk than cigarettes even. So even weed vapes are healthier than cigarettes, but don't vape weed. Bad idea.
Yeah.
But in general, it's 95% healthier, safer for you than than cigarettes. And number one cause of preventable death in the world is cigarette smoking, tobacco-related illness. Number two is weight-related illness. And my theory is if you're smoking chocolate pudding, you're not eating chocolate pudding. So I think that there should be more research done on all of the benefits of vaping just to get rid of bad habits. It's not the worst habit to have, really.
Yeah, I agree. It can be expensive sometimes as well, but there's some nice suppliers out there cutting down the cost. Like there's ones you can get from New Zealand which are like 1,500 puffs for like $20.
Yeah.
Like it's a nice growing market out there. We actually, I don't know if they can come get me if they want. We sold them for a while. We imported them from China for a bit, sold them. We were doing like, you know how rappers like throw up money and shit like that?
Yeah.
we were doing that with some of the cash, but we almost got in trouble, so we had to stop doing that. But
Yeah, we tried to give vapes to all the MPs, and then we discovered that would get us in trouble.
Really?
Yeah, we wanted to give all the MPs vapes and be like, Greg Hunt says you can't have this.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
But then, Greg Hunt said we
Well, you
couldn't
know
do
that's
that.
how Penthouse initially became famous in the, I think it was the UK where Guccione, who's the founder, he started it, right? So I think Playboy was just out like in America, but it might not have been out in Britain. But anyway, his marketing strategy when he started Penthouse was he just mailed them to the house of every single politician, and in like the 60s, and they all got super outraged, and they all like talked about it in Parliament how bad it was, and he just sold so many.
Still doing that? Because I remember when I was a congressional intern.
I don't know.
Yeah, every month we get a copy of Penthouse consistently, and it was just like, it was like whichever intern wanted it could take it home because the congresswoman was definitely
That's pretty funny.
not the Penthouse type.
Yeah, I can imagine it's not good for the public image.